Do you have any idea how many golf balls Dick's Sporting Goods sells on a yearly basis?
You know, no, but it's a lot. It's a lot. I'll bet you we sell 10 million dozen a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll bet you we're north of 10 million dozen a year.
That's a lot of golf balls. Okay, not exactly a surprise that a certain sector of the American economy is about to enjoy its annual convulsion. Given how widespread the industry is and how many types of businesses it touches, not sure there's any way to precisely put a finger on exactly how much of the holiday spending is golf related. But we figured this would be the perfect time to talk with one of the giants of retail and sports and a man deeply connected to golf, Ed Stack, the executive chairman of Dick's Sporting Goods, which also owns and operates Golf Galaxy. But before we get to that, we figured this would also be the perfect time to say hello to our friend Mollie Cahillane. She's a veteran of sports business journalism who's worked at Adweek and the Sports Business Journal, and she joins us now to talk about the topic of the day, golf and shopping. Hi, Mollie.
Hey, Jimmy. Thanks so much for having me on.
I went to Google and I asked how many things are there out there to buy online. And I was expecting a crazy number, but AI gave me an even crazier answer. It says, there is no limit. That's a quote. You went out and did a little snooping around. I'm wondering what you found.
Well, I also found the limit does not exist, but I did narrow it down to a few categories that could be great for your golf enthusiast to your golf pro in the household. So, Jimmy, I wear an Apple Watch. Do you have any kind of wearable tech on you?
Yeah. I wear a Fitbit.
All right. How good is your Fitbit for golf specifically?
Yeah, I haven't dug in and found out typical of me. It's just like I don't know what half the stuff that my car does. I don't know what this thing is capable of. I'm guessing that there are devices that are specific to golf, or at least really make a big accommodation to golf.
There absolutely are, and they come in a range of varieties across price, tech, whatever. But the biggest one I found, the most popular, that's going to get you the biggest bang for your buck, is the Garmin Approach S70. It's the newest model from Garmin. It's got over 43,000 course views on that watch itself. It's GPS oriented. It's got a virtual caddy with it, and then it also does everything that your Fitbit and my Apple Watch does too. So that's 24/7 health monitoring. It can track your runs, your sleep, your heart rate, all of that too, but targeted to golf.
Can it do my chores?
I wish. I don't think we've quite hit that level yet.
So the problem that I've always had with wearable tech in golf is that it's kind of like a one size fits all in terms of the information it gives you. And it's not as specific as, let's say, a rangefinder could be. Is this
Mhm.
just general information that you get, or will it actually give you distance to the pin? Do you know?
It'll give you this model specifically that we're talking about will give you distance to the pin and it learns from your past strokes as well.
Wow. All right. How much?
All right, you're going to come in for this one at a little over 600 to 700, but we're coming up on Black
Whoa.
Friday, we're coming up on Christmas sales. But like I did say, this is the higher end of it. You can get a pretty good golf specific wearable tech for around 2 to 300.
Let's stay with the topic of tech. And one of the things that I find really interesting is simulators. We had Nora Dunnan from Five Iron Golf on, and it used to be the only place that you could go and play simulator golf was at a place like that. But it's actually becoming something that's now available to consumers for home use, right?
Oh, absolutely. This has been in the last 5 years or so a pretty big explosion across home use. And when I was looking into this, I thought it would be a pretty out of the range for the normal consumer, but they have a lot of affordable options now. And you have it up on the screen here. I'm looking at that. That's gorgeous. But you can have anything from your like converted garage where you pull out your cars and then you have the maybe a projector you already had and your golf simulator in the house. Or you can have a dedicated room for a simulator now that's going to cost you under 10 grand.
Wow. It's the I'm just curious, the lower end ones, the ones that you could put in your garage. Any idea, what the price point is for entry level on things like that?
So I was on TikTok, Reddit, looking at like actual reviews from people who have done this, and you can get a pretty good setup for about 3 grand.
Okay, so 3 grand if you want to put a simulator in your garage.
Yeah, some models people are liking are like Skytrack, and then that's Actually, you can get as low as 2,000 for initial setup, with the high end coming in at like $30,000. Which, but that's for your people who aren't even going to want to go to a driving range. You're going to live in that garage.
I think I might. All right, stocking stuffers, the mega high tech to kind of medium tech, personalization for golf balls and I suppose other things. What'd you find? What's out there?
All right. Well, I don't know about you. I tend to lose things, and I also love things. I also love things that have a little bit of custom and a little bit of personality to it. So personalized golf balls, that's been around for a while, but that's I don't know, Jimmy. Like when you're golfing, do you want to have a golf ball that's like custom to you?
Yeah, actually, I do. Every year, I have a bunch of golf balls made that have my imprint on them. It's just easier to do that than mark it up. I guess call it lazy or vanity. I don't know.
uh, Lazy vanity or just fun. So you can even get high quality golf balls out there now. Like Titleist is doing for any kind of model you want. You can have any logo you want, any image you want printed onto Titleist, and once that proof comes through, you'll have your own custom set of golf balls.
Yeah. So, what does something like that cost? I'm just curious.
So for Titleist for those high ends, that's about $70, and they do have a minimum of 6 dozen. But then you can, if you want to really stocking stuff for it, there's websites out there like mycustomgolfball.com where you can have any image up there, up to 3 lines of text that'll do it. Those are really great for like corporate, for kids if you got a big family, for the golf lover out there.
A couple of weeks down the road from now, we're heading to the PGA Merchandise Show in Orlando, which for me is just one of the greatest experiences there is because you can walk those hallways and you can find just about anything you could think of and a lot more that you couldn't even imagine. In that category is one thing that I think it's really really cool. I know that you've been looking at a little bit these golf shag bag coolers. Tell me about that.
All right, well, you told me you have one, so I need to get on the trend here. What do you have?
I have one that somebody gave me. I don't know anything about the brand. I actually once gave a speech somewhere, and they gave it to me as a gift, and presumably that you put your, golf balls in them when you go out and you practice on the range. Although I'm not really sure what the use of that would be if you go and you play at a club or something where they're going to have balls on the range. But and then there's a compartment in there which is insulated for beers, or I suppose you could use, or soft drinks, whatever. Although I suppose you could just use it entirely as a cooler. Is that the idea?
Yeah, so that's a pretty good swag bag gift there for you. But what I found is there's ones that look exactly just like a shag bag, but you can open it up. You can have 60 golf balls in there, or you can have 6 beers, soda, whatever you want. The higher end one I found is the newest R series from Jones. It's the Ranger. It comes in a bunch of different colors. It looks
Right.
really professional. It is very professional. You can use that as a legitimate shag bag, or you can use it as your cooler. And then for a little bit more on the fun side, the Big Frosty from Sunday Golf, that leans a little bit more towards beverages. You can fit in like kind of 6 cans in there, but then there's room for your teas, there's room for your balls. That's for your more casual golfer.
I think I might buy something like that just because of the name, the Big Frosty. You got to like that.
They
So
know their audience.
yeah, they would certainly seem to, right? So what does something like that cost?
So for the higher end, the Jones, that's about $60. For your Big Frosty, you can get that for 30 to 40.
All right, good holiday idea. All right, let's end this up with not a product, but an experience. And there are all sorts of things that you can do related to golf if you don't want to actually put something under the tree, but you want kind of like a big experience. Give me the best that you've found.
Well, I don't think this would fit under the tree if you tried. So, like the gifting an experience, that is a once in a lifetime kind of thing. So I dove around. There's so many out there, but ones that really stuck out to me is how would you like to go golfing on the Orient Express?
Yeah, I'm in. Are you kidding me? So you're saying that you can actually take the Orient Express and there's some kind of trip that's curated specifically to golf?
The Dolce Vita Orient Express, it is a 4 day, 3 night experience throughout central and southern Italy. You're starting outside of Rome, you're going through Tuscany, and it is catered to you. So that's actually a little more affordable than I would have expected, and I'm using affordable loosely. Your most bare bones package there is a little over 12,000 euros, but it's limited. So the last trip's in November of this year, and then there's another one going out in March, and then you're out of luck until um, November of next year.
So let me get this straight. So 4 days, 12,000 euros. You're staying on the Orient Express. You've got a concierge, and it's in southern Italy.
Mm-hmm. That's about it.
Yeah, that is about it as far as I'm concerned. If there's anybody out there who wants to put that under my tree, Sandy, are you listening? Um, that's a pretty darn good gift.
Well, Jimmy, if we're crowdsourcing from Santa, I mean, we can get into private jets and everything too.
Wait, hold on. So there's something not on the ground. There's a kind of a private jet experience for golf.
There is. It doesn't come with a train though, but it does come with the Airbus. So I found the TCS World Travel offers the Golf Around the World itinerary. That's in partnership with KLS Golf. That's 21 days and six destinations.
Yeah. Okay. So hold on a sec. 21 days, six destinations. What are some of the destinations?
All right. Well, we're talking Hawaii, Malaysia, Vietnam. I mean, Florida in there, of course. Morocco. Where do you want to go?
That's a pretty good start.
That will cost you a little bit more than your Orient Express, but that's for the high end out there.
Okay. So what is that end?
Oh, Jimmy, we're coming in at like 170,000 minimum.
Whoa.
If you're booking that experience, you have an 18-member team of flight crew and staff for yourself.
Molly, great stuff. Thanks for joining us. By the way, Ed Stack coming up, executive chairman of Dick's Sporting Goods. Wondering anything in particular you'd like to know from him?
Well, I've loved the story of Dick's Sporting Goods in general, and Ed's obviously a tremendous leader, but I would love to hear what his biggest failure's been.
Okay, good point. With every success, usually come a few more failures, but the successes are the ones that we remember. Ed Stack coming up. Thanks, Molly. Today on The Big Swing, we are going to business school. In 1984, Ed Stack took a two-store local family enterprise and turned it into a national giant, which now has more than 800 locations, trades on the New York Stock Exchange, and last year generated more than $13 billion in sales. Dick's Sporting Goods also owns and operates Golf Galaxy, and for 2 decades has sponsored an event on the PGA Tour Champions. The executive chairman of the country's largest sports retailer joins us now. Ed, thanks so much for taking the time. There's so much for us to unwrap here, so I'm going to get right to the golf heavy stuff in a minute. But why don't we start with a short and I guess it would be a simple question. And I'm imagining there is a more complicated answer. How? Two stores to more than 800, all of this revenue. How did this happen?
It would be. We don't have enough time to talk about all of it, but to be honest with you, it one step at a time. We had these two small stores in Binghamton, New York, that I bought from my father back in 1984, and then we added a store a year for a number of years, and then had some investors come in and help us with some growth capital, and we just did this one step at a time, and you know. 40 years later, it's a different business than I first bought in 1984.
You make it sound a lot simpler than it is, and as if there was this just constant trajectory. But there were missteps along the way. It wasn't easy.
Oh yeah, hey, what one step at a time, and sometimes meant two steps backwards. And we went through some like any golfer, you've had some good rounds and some good holes and some bad holes and some bad rounds, and we made a couple double bogeys along the way, and fortunately we were able to kind of get ourselves out of trouble and move on, and we always learned from those mistakes, and um, vowed to never make those mistakes again. But there were some real ups and downs. We almost went out of business twice. Once in back in the late '80s with the savings and loan crisis, which was really no fault of our own. We got kind of caught up in the regulatory environment, and the bank said we can't lend you any money any longer. We'd never we'd never missed a loan payment. We did everything we were supposed to be, but just the regulator said we don't like the ratios of this company, and the bank kind of booted us out. We had to find another source of financing, and then we moved the company to Pittsburgh from Binghamton in 1994, and things were going really well. And we almost went out of business again and the main reason at that time was I made some really bad decisions, and we went through a difficult time. But like I said, we worked through them and vowed to never make them again, and it's been pretty good since then.
All's well that ends well, and you said you made some bad decisions. I guess in retrospect, knowing that things have worked out well, what was the worst decision that you ever made?
It would have been when we moved the company to Pittsburgh in 1994. We had about 10 stores. We opened a couple more the next year, and then in 1996, we opened up 8 stores on a base of 22. We had grown too quickly, and
Hmm.
we tried to grow even faster, and we'd opened up 18 stores on a base of 22, and got an acute case of indigestion. We basically ran out of money. Um, we kind of the business outstripped our ability to manage it, my ability to manage it,
Right.
our management team's ability to management, our finances, and we came very close to going out of business. And if it hadn't been for a guy named Denis DeFerre, who was the co-founder of Carrefour, which was the second largest retailer in the world at the time, if it hadn't been for Denis DeFerre, we would have lost the company.
Is there a lesson there? I guess on the surface, the lesson would be very careful about growth. But is there something that applied to what you did, or you can take from what you did that you think is more universal and applies to businesses that are confronting growth?
Yeah, I think sometimes, and the lesson that we learned from this is never fall in love with yourself. And some people have asked us
Mm.
why we've been successful, and the reason is we never fell in love with ourselves, and we constantly innovated and looked to do things better. And back in 1994, 1995, we kind of fell in love with ourselves. We were kind of we, we we got a little bit too cool for school, and got our butts kicked, and almost went out of business. And it was one thing that we never forgot. And we were fortunate to get um, GE Capital finances.
Yeah.
The banks wouldn't touch us at this point. No bank would touch us. The investors we had kind of were pretty concerned whether we were going to be able to get out of this. And myself and our CFO, who's a very good friend of mine, Mike Hines, still today, went to see GE Capital. And I kind of say tongue in cheek, GE Capital back then in the mid 90s was the lender of last resort before before you call Tony Soprano. And we did not want to call Tony Soprano. And GE Capital kind of were pretty stringent terms, put a lot of constraints around us, but helped us finance the business. And we quickly turned it around in about a year, less than 18 months. We had this thing turned around, and we all said that we looked into the halls of hell and we're never going back. And we got religion real quick to be very financially disciplined, continue to innovate, and constantly kind of critique ourselves, and
Mhm.
so that we never become too cool for school again.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about don't fall in love with yourself, and it reminds me of something I heard last year. Byron Scott, who played for the LA Lakers, was a teammate late in his career of Kobe Bryant. And one day he shows up at the gym early in the morning, and Kobe's there, 6 in the morning, coming out of the gym, having already worked out. And Byron is getting there, getting ready to work out. And he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I got 24 hours to get better." So I guess the lesson is every day you just have to kind of aspire to do something to be better, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can never kind of rest on your laurels, because there's always somebody out there from a business standpoint, or I expect also from an athletic standpoint. There's always somebody out there looking to take your market share, or take your position, or take your role. A number of years ago, as we were growing our business, um, I walked into a meeting one day with our senior management team, and I said, "We're breaking up with Wall Street." And they looked at me and said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "We're breaking up with Wall Street. We're not going to play by Wall Street's rules any longer. We're going to make the investments that we need to make for our business in the long term. And if our stock price gets whacked, then our stock price gets whacked. But we're making these investments for a lifetime. We're not making these investments for a quarter or two. And Wall Street might not get it right in any day of the week, but they'll get it right over time. So we're breaking up with Wall Street, We're going to run our business the way we should run it, and I don't really care what Wall Street thinks. And I went out to a number of shareholders and investors at the time and talked to them about this. And I said, listen, we're breaking up to you. And we make these investments, our stock price goes down. Others in this industry make those investments that were digitally native, their stock goes up. We're just going to do what's right for us long term. And every single one of those investors looked at me and said, you know what? You're doing exactly the right thing. But if that's what you're going to do, I need to sell your stock. And our stock went down, and that's fine. But now these investments we've made have paid big dividends. And I've always talked about in our business that we don't make investments for a quarter or two, we make investments for a lifetime. And those investments that we made back then when we broke up with Wall Street have been lifetime investments that have really allowed us to be as successful as we are today.
I got to tell you, in my lifetime, sporting goods stores, I remember when I was a kid, sporting goods stores were, if they weren't everywhere, there were a lot of them in a lot of
Yeah.
places. And now it feels like you guys are the lone survivor. How did you do that?
Yeah, well, we're not the lone survivor. There's a few others out there, but I think our category is very similar to so many other categories. If when we were both younger, there was a local pharmacy on every corner,
Hmm.
depending on where in town you were. There was the lumber yards that Home Depot and Lowe's have consolidated. The grocery stores were local grocery stores, which now have been really consolidated between Walmart and Albertsons and that group. So I think it's just part of the whole evolution of what happened in retail. And to be honest with you, again, we just did it one step at a time. We were always, for many years, we were viewed as the underdog. There was Sports Authority, and there was Sports Mart, and there was Oshman's, and there was Gart Brothers, and a number,
Herman's.
and Herman's, sure. And there was a lot of those people out there, and we just kind of kept our head down and went to work every day and tried to do the best we could. I think if there was one person that I learned a lot from, and I never met him, was Sam Walton. I read when in those earlier days. I read everything I could about Sam Walton, every book that was written about him or any article that he was involved in, and his whole view was kind of grow your business in these concentric circles, try to stay out of the competition's way, and when you go into a competitor, go in and find things they're doing well. Don't walk in and kind of be cynical and go, yeah, they're not doing very well. They're doing this wrong. They're doing that wrong.
Hmm.
And we've always gone into our competitors and looked and said, what are they doing really well? Actually, what are they doing better than us? And how can we improve in those areas? So that's kind of how we did it. We grew in these concentric circles and always respected our competition and looked at how they could actually make us better.
You mentioned it briefly before, and so did I should say. You've run the company since 1984. Your dad started this company
Right.
when you were a kid.
Yep.
So it was a family business that you kind of stepped into and grew. I would imagine there's a lot that goes along with stepping into a family business, a lot of pressure, not the same as just going to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
How'd that impact you?
Well, a lot. And to be honest with you, I never wanted to be in this business. So my father put me to work in the store when I was 13 because he was going to teach me responsibility. And if I was,
You want to be a lawyer,
I
right?
did. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I had no interest in coming into this business. And he put me to work in the store. And if I wasn't playing baseball or football, and in summer vacations, Christmas vacations, all this, I had to work in the store. And when I got out of college, I was going to go to work at at either Price Waterhouse or Coopers and Lybrand, and then I wanted to go on to law school. But he got pretty sick. We had these two little stores in Binghamton, New York, and he got pretty sick. And I came back into help in the family business, never thinking that I would stay. But it's been a lot of years, and I'm still here. And I fell in love with the business. And it's a love affair that is alive and well today.
I've read a bunch about you, enough to know that I guess your attitude or the attitude that your business goes by is that sneakers rule. Sneakers, I guess, athletic shoes rule.
Right.
That's what kind of drives the bus.
Yeah.
But you've made a really significant bet on golf. Is that about your personal love of the game, or is that obviously had to have been a business decision?
I think it was both a business decision and my love of the game. I mean, I love to play golf. I grew up playing golf with my father and with my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, and I just fell in love with the game. And um, it, I play golf. I don't think any of us play golf as much as we'd like to. But I just love to play. I love to get out with my buddies, and everybody's kind of busting each other's butt before you play, during you're playing, after you're playing. I love the competition, and I just absolutely love the game of golf.
I like to say that I play twice as much golf as I have a right to, and half as much as I'd like to, which is, I think, what a lot of people feel. But
I'm gonna use that line. I'm gonna borrow that line.
feel free, spread the gospel, my
Yeah,
friend.
you bet.
Let's just get back to the golf as part of your business, though, for a moment. How much, in a percentage wise, does golf represent in terms of sales at Dick's stores?
Well, we've never really disclosed that specifically, but I will tell you it's our third largest category. So athletic apparel is the biggest, athletic footwear is the second biggest, and then golf. And between the Dick's golf business and the our Golf Galaxy business, it's an extremely important part of our business.
I would imagine that when you got into it, it's a very, very different situation now. The PGA of America, I know, at one point was very, very territorial about the sale of equipment and things related to golf that weren't at green grass stores. Did you face resistance when you first started?
Oh, definitely. I mean, a number of the brands wouldn't sell to us. Um, we were kind of an outcast in the golf business, and I wanted to get into the golf business in a bigger way, really because of my love for golf, and thought that people having to go to a green grass shop to buy better golf product. We always sold golf product, but we couldn't sell the product. I remember, back years ago, we would sell an iron called the K28 from Wilson. We couldn't sell Wilson staffs or the X31s. And I thought that we need to find a way to sell that kind of product. So we started to buy it from a distributor. The kind of the tongue-in-cheek name is from a bootlegger. So we would
Hmm.
bootleg some of this product and put it in, and the brands weren't very happy with us, and certainly the PGA of America wasn't very happy with us. But as we grew, I think they all found that we respect the game, we respect the equipment. It wasn't just used as a loss leader to get people into the store to buy other product. We were very serious about making this an important part of our business. And over the years, we're great partners with Callaway and TaylorMade and Titleist and the rest of them. And we've got a great relationship with the PGA of America. So it didn't come overnight, but we've got a great relationship with these brands. And virtually every golf brand, we're their largest customer right now. But
Really?
yes, but it did not happen overnight. There were some trials and tribulations along the way.
I wonder what those discussions were like. Let's just take Wilson, for example. What were those discussions like with you going to them and I assume saying to them, sell me, I want to sell staffs. And would they just say no?
That's exactly right. They just said no, and then at the time when we got into this, Wilson was starting to wane in the golf business, and Callaway had come along, and TaylorMade had come along with the metal wood and 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 Callaway, and those were the brands that we went after to try to get them to sell us along with Ping, and we'd go talk to them, and they wouldn't talk to us at the PGA
Hmm.
show. They didn't even want us in their booth. And I remember having a conversation with a couple of them about opening us up and having product, and they basically said, "Hey, meet me in the back stairwell." And that's where we would meet. They didn't want us to even be seen in the booths, but that's changed a lot now.
Yeah, well, I would imagine they had to be somewhat ambivalent about this because, on the one hand, the culture was telling them you can't sell these clubs anywhere but a golf store
Right.
or but a golf club. But on the other hand, you were offering them the opportunity to exponentially increase the number of clubs and product that they could sell.
Yeah, we did. And what we did is when we built the stores, we built really a pro shop that was separated from the balance of the store. You kind of be able to walk through it in this archway where we go in, and we really spent capital doing it. We built, the displays for the irons in the bags, and we had a hitting bay where you could go in and hit golf clubs before you bought them. So we did it right. And as we kind of did this, and we've always said that as we're dealing with brands, we can be very patient, and we know that things take some time to change. And we were very patient around the golf business, and now it's our third largest category. And you can imagine in a $14 billion business, the third largest category is a very big number.
All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot. You may not know the answer to this, but this under the heading of facts that would make people giggle. Do you have any idea how many golf balls Dick's Sporting Goods sells on a yearly basis?
You know, no, but it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. I'll bet you we sell. I'll bet, I don't know. I'll bet we sell more than 10 million dozen a year.
Wow,
Yeah, I'll bet you we're north of 10 million dozen a year.
that's a lot of golf
It is
balls.
a lot of golf balls, and yeah, it's golf's been a wonderful business, and we love it.
Okay, so tell me what you've learned through the years about the way that golfers shop. Is it different than the way other sports consumers shop?
Um, I think to some extent it yes, and to some extent no. So golfers right now, well, it's changed a lot in the last 10 to 15 years, where golfers want to be fit for their clubs.
Mm,
So you're going to come in for a new driver, and you want to get fit, and you want to get dialed in what your launch angle is and what your spin rate is, and then from an iron standpoint, what loft should you have? What should the lie angle of the your irons be? So they shop very differently, and it's just not the tip of the spear golfer today that wants that. It's virtually every golfer. So you could have somebody who's a 15 handicapper, has a hard time breaking 90 on any day of the week, maybe never broke 90, but he or she is so passionate and loves golf so much that they want to go through that fitting process. They want to give themselves the best opportunity to play their best. And it's really different the way they shop today than it was 15 years ago.
you mentioned something there, and I know it was just in passing, but it's really significant. He or she.
Yep.
And the facts tell us that the biggest growing segment of golf is women
Yeah.
and youth golf. Is there anything that you have done or can do to facilitate that or take advantage of that?
Yeah. So we're doing some things around women's golf and youth golf. And it is both of those areas are a big growth category. Um, One of the main things we've done from a youth standpoint, we have this program, we're involved in this program called Youth on Course, where if you're
Hmm.
under 15 years old, you get a significant discount to be able to go play golf at certain times of the day. And we've helped participate in that from a financial standpoint, a marketing standpoint. And if you think about it, in the summertime, if a few kids are out playing golf, it's a pretty good place for them to be. Pretty tough to get
Yep.
into trouble on the golf course. Golf teaches them a lot of great lessons they can use the rest of their life. You know that you have to be honest, you have to play by the rules, and we think helping kids be on the golf course in the summertime or at any time is a great place for them to be. And the women's business has gotten to be just terrific, not only on the equipment side, but then also on the apparel side of the business. And we're leaning pretty heavily into women's golf.
Is there something that you think provides something of a concern for the health of the golf business
Yeah,
as far as Dix is
yeah.
concerned?
And I don't think it's just Dick's. I think it's the golf business as a whole. So one of the things that concerns me is the prices of equipment have escalated significantly.
Mm,
So you want to buy the new drivers that'll be coming out in 2026. Those drivers are going to be somewhere in the $649 range to $699. That's getting
Mhm.
pretty expensive for a driver. So I think the costs of this of equipment going up has me a bit concerned. Um, the other thing that's got me a little bit concerned is the ball rollback, and I don't want to get into the whole political piece of this, but I do not. I'm not a fan of rolling back the ball, nor am I a fan of bifurcating the game either. But rolling back the ball, I just don't think golf's in a really great place right now, and I don't think that the golf. I don't think the golf industry needs another flashpoint to divide it, such as what happened with Live or some other things that have gone on. I just the game's in great shape, and I think we should just continue to try to get more people to play. And rolling the ball back just makes the game a little bit more difficult. And I don't know how you feel about your golf game, Jimmy, but it's not an easy game. We love it, but it's not easy, and we don't need to make it any harder.
Yeah, let me play devil's advocate, I should say, for a second. Are you concerned at all about the impact of, increasing distance on some of these traditional courses and these great courses?
I'm not. I mean, there's ways to be able to mitigate that, whether it's growing the rough, you know, other things that they can do, the speed of the greens. You still have to chip and putt, and so no, it doesn't. And the PGA Tour's tagline, if you will, is "We play under par." Um,
Yeah,
and I
they
think
do.
that says it all right there. I think so. And people want to see people hit the ball a long ways. It's just like people want to go to a baseball game to see to see the home run. You only get terribly excited about a pitching duel when it's the bottom of the eighth and the guy's got a perfect game going. Um, Other than that, you want to see people hit home runs and you want to see some exciting plays.
Let me give you an analogy that I think would be appropriate in talking to a man who sells sporting goods. So there's bifurcation in baseball.
Yep.
In the college game, they use aluminum bats, but they don't in the pro game.
Yep.
The game is very, very different at the elite level. Why not allow the recreational golfers, people like you and me, and again, I'm just, again, playing devil's advocate
Yep.
here.
Yep.
Why not allow us to use the equipment which maximizes our ability to hit it far, but recognize that, as has been observed more than once, these people are different than us.
They definitely are. I think I think a big part of it, and we could sit here and debate this one for a long time, and
Yeah,
I'm not sure we'd ever come to to the right answer. Golf is different because so many people are playing this, and we really want to play the same equipment that the pros are playing.
right.
We want to play the same kind of ball that the pros are playing. We want to play the same clubs that the pros are playing, and you can see that when somebody wins a golf tournament, the clubs that they play usually take a little bit of a pop. We own MaxFly, and when Ben Griffin and Novak won the Zurich Classic, and then Ben went on to win, another his second tournament of the year. The MaxFly golf ball just the sales on it skyrocketed.
Hmm.
Well, I'll go back and date ourselves years ago when Corey Pavin played that Cleveland funny looking iron.
Yep.
When he won, the sales of that iron went through the roof. So I just think it's part of the game that we want to play the same thing that the pros are playing.
Let's move on to something I know it's really, really important to you is culture.
Yeah.
We talk about culture in business all the time. Read something interesting about your observation on the way you see things. Some people in businesses see it as a pyramid where everything moves in one direction. But I've read that you see it as a diamond.
Yep.
And explain that with the customer at the top. But how does the rest of that shape shake
Yeah.
out?
So it's interesting. We do have this, put this together years ago, this diamond shaped organization chart. And we refer to the customer as an athlete. So whenever we talk about athlete, that's our customer. And this diamond shaped org chart has my name at the bottom of the org chart because I really believe that my job, and I hate the phrase report to, but my job is to make sure that the people I work directly with have all the resources and the tools to do a great job. And their job is to have, with the people that work directly with them, to make sure that they have all the tools and resources to do a great job. And as you kind of build out the org chart, it gets to a point, and then it starts to narrow back again. And at the very top of the org chart is the athlete or the consumer. And I think the further away you get from the athlete or the consumer, the more you should listen and the less you should talk, which, as far away as I am from that, I should never talk and I should only listen. And I don't,
We're going to make an exception for this
yeah,
conversation, okay?
yeah. Well, even in the company, I still, I will, I talk, but that's the theory behind it. And it's worked really well. This kind of servant relationship with the people that work directly with us. And it's permeated through the culture. And we all know that that athlete is where it all stands, even to the point where how we named our corporate headquarters. We don't call it the corporate headquarters. We call it the customer support center. So we all work in the customer support center because we're only here to support what goes on in the stores and on our e-commerce business and with those athletes. I look every day at the sales results. I don't see any customers or any sales coming out of our customer support center, but that's the way we set it up, and it's worked really well.
How many employees do you have?
We had about 50,000. We bought Foot Locker a few months ago, and now Foot Locker across the globe, we've got more than 100,000 employees.
When all of these employees on board, I'm just curious, do they get that talk about the expectation in terms of culture?
Yes, it's very, very important. There's a video that they all look at. We spend a lot of time talking about culture and how we hire people, and yeah, it's really important.
Let's talk for a moment about the internet. You mentioned it a moment ago. Bricks and mortar in the retail world, those are dirty words, but you've navigated it really, really well. How'd you make that all work?
Well, I always thought the internet was going to be really important, and we were early adopters of this. Our first internet sale was in 1999, so we've been involved in the internet since before the turn of the century. But still, I think in many businesses, and in our business, people still want to touch it, feel it, try it, before they buy that product. And with Wall Street, I kind of say tongue in cheek that with Wall Street, if you go back 15 years ago, even less than that, the Wall Street analysts would look at a retailer, and they did with us also, and they would say they would have no idea how many stores we have. They would say, I don't know how many stores you have, but you have too many. And I don't know how big your stores are, but they're too big, because they thought the internet was going to take everything. And they would ask me, this is 8, 9 years ago, they would say, if you looked at your business 10 years from now, how many stores are you going to have? And my comment would be, we're going to have about the same number of stores, but we're going to have a lot more square footage, because we're going to make these stores much bigger, which is what we've done with our House of Sports stores. And they didn't like that. They thought that we were heading in the wrong direction. But what we've done with the House of Sports stores, which are now 120 to 130, 140,000 square feet, many of them have a field right next to it. They've kind of understand what we were talking about, and it's really differentiates us in the marketplace. So if you're in a brick and mortar retailer, there has to be a point of differentiation between your business and what everybody else is doing. And our team has done a great job making that happen.
You have also been the sponsor of a PGA Tour Champions event, and I know you love golf. We've talked about that a little bit, but that's a treacherous business too. Is that more of a public service on your part, or does it serve your business and your brand?
I mean, I think it serves the business and the brand a little bit, but it's really more of a public service of what we do for the hometown that I grew up in Binghamton, New York. And the golf course that we have it in is a golf course. I played a lot of golf when I was a kid with my grandfather. So there's a real emotional tie there. How we got started in this, a guy named Alex Alexander started the tournament in Binghamton, and it was a PGA Tour stop. And
The BC
the
Open.
BC Open, right. And so he started the tournament. And then with the number of years ago, when the tour was going to change the schedule, they lost that spot. And they told Alex, hey, if you can get somebody to be a title sponsor, then we'll give you a champions event. And he tried to get somebody to do it. And he sent me a number of letters. We had moved to Pittsburgh by this time. He sent me a number of letters asking me to do this and to sponsor the tournament. And it doesn't make any ROI sense, And I would send him back a note and politely tell him, Alex, we're not going to do this. And he'd send me another letter and be always very polite and never trying to pressure us that you should do this for your hometown, et cetera. And he and my grandfather were great friends. And it was at the 11th hour. They had like 2 days to be able to get this done, or they would lose the spot and move on. And he sent me another note. And my grandfather and I were really close. My grandfather was like my best friend growing up. I spent a ton of time with him. And my grandfather had passed away at this point. And my grandfather's name was Dutch. Everybody called him Dutch. And at the end of the letter, this very polite letter he sent to me, he said, hey, I could just hear what Dutch would say if you did that, ... He'd say, how about that? Not that, but that. How about that? That's exactly what my grandfather would said. And I'm telling you, I sit in my office all by myself reading this letter. And when I got to that line, like a chill went up my spine. And I looked around and I said, my grandfather's trying to tell me something.
Wow.
And at that point, I walked down to our marketing group and I gave the letter to the head of marketing. And I said, you know what? We're going to do this. Let's go find a way let's go make this happen. And that's how we got into the tournament. And we've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, so that was 20 years ago. And you mentioned in terms of return on investment, it might not make sense. Are you happy with your association with it?
Absolutely, because it really is it's a great nod to our hometown. And if you play in it, whenever I go there and I talk to people and talk to everybody, and I'll say, thanks, always thank the volunteers when I'm playing or walking around there and say, thanks for volunteering. We appreciate it. This couldn't be done without you. I don't know how many of them say, I've been doing this for 30 years. I was doing this when it was the BC Open. I take a week's vacation to do this. So what it means to the community that our business started in and I grew up in, it means it means a lot. And to use a golf analogy, if we had a mulligan, we'd do it all over again.
What's the next big thing that you are looking at?
Well, the next best thing that I'm looking at is not have anything to do with golf right now. We bought a company called Foot Locker and
Hmm.
closed on that about 2 months ago. So Foot Locker's got about 2,300 stores around the globe. It gives us an entirely different consumer set in the athletic footwear business that we don't serve today. It puts us into a global position in Asia, in EMEA. And it's a business that we bought that was, it kind of lost its way a little bit. And we knew that when we bought it. And we're in the process of writing this and putting Foot Locker back to its original position. And it is the premier player in the athletic specialty footwear business. And it's a big transformational acquisition that we are knee deep into right now.
Yeah, I'm sure it's complicated, but could you identify one things for our viewers and listeners that you'd like to change that could be a first step?
What people have asked me in the past is what concerns you about your business going forward. And the one thing that has always kept me up at night is, and I'm a student of retail, is that I don't want to wake up one day and have a tired old chain. That's what happened to Sears. That's what happened to Kmart. That's what happened to some other retailers that are having a difficult time right now. So we've always invested in our stores and updated them and changed our position in the marketplace. And that's the issue that Foot Locker fell into. They've got a tired old chain that we need to go back in and revitalize. And so that's what we're doing. So we're gonna close some stores. We're gonna reopen some newer stores make the stores larger, kind of bring them into into the modern day from a merchandising standpoint, marketing standpoint, and we will. We don't do. We talk about we don't do anything the same at Dick's today that we did in 2015, 2016, and with Foot Locker. When by the time we get to 27 and 28, there will be virtually nothing that Foot Locker does in 27 and 28 that they did in 24 and 23.
One last thing I want to ask you about, and that's pivoting back to golf. And you've touched on this a little bit, but is there something that you could identify that golf, the game, could do to be better?
I think golf is in a really good spot right now. I think I think what we're trying to do with some other people is to get more kids and a broader base of kids being able to play golf, open golf up to a broader cross section of the population, and give kids who are 15, 14, 13 years old that want to try golf, give them an opportunity to get on the golf course and play. And so we're trying to do that. A number of other people are trying to do that. I think it's that would be it. I think what the PGA of America did with the PGA League, the youth league, has been a huge success.
It all started a long time ago with $300 from a cookie jar. It's now a business that generates sales in the neighborhood of $14 billion. Ed Stack, thanks so much for spending the time with us today.
Thanks, Jimmy.
You know, there's a certain and more to the point, frightening velocity to the calendar this time of year. You spend the spring and the summer and the fall figuring out your golf swing, or at least trying to. And just when you get to the point where you feel like there might be some light at the end of the tunnel, that it isn't an oncoming train, you're hitting off of mats at an indoor facility, you're changing the clocks, here comes Halloween, and boom, you're putting up the tree and making Christmas lists. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the holiday season. Who doesn't? But every year, it seems like Thanksgiving feels like not much more than a pit stop we simply motor through on the way to the real holiday. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world, stuff that doesn't make me feel very good. Everything from idiots who park in the handicapped space in my little town so they don't have to walk an extra block to get their coffee, to gambling scandals in baseball and basketball, and of course, the fan behavior at the Ryder Cup. But there's just as much on the other side of the register to feel good about. Stuff like Scottie Scheffler answering an innocuous question at the Open Championship and pulling us all back to a decency that can exist side by side with the games we play and love. Stuff like the billions of dollars in philanthropy that golf is responsible for. Stuff like the Evans Scholars Program, which to date has sent more than 12,000 kids to college on a full ride. So this year, as the calendar whizzes by, I decided to shift my usually ignored New Year's resolution over to Thanksgiving. And my resolution, as I recover from overeating once again, is to be grateful and try harder to remember all the good things. That my family is healthy, knock wood as my wife would say. That I have good friends. That doing this is fun. That there might be hope for my game. Maybe. That calendar velocity might slow down in the winter with our games in hibernation. But before you know it, it'll be time to blow the dust off of our clubs and take some real divots. And in the best of all possible worlds, maybe, just maybe, I'll remember which one of those 800 swing thoughts I'd settled on back before the freeze. And who knows, maybe it'll even work again. Hope your Thanksgiving was good. And as we move into the holiday season, let's try and focus on the good stuff, huh?
The Big Swing with Jimmy Roberts is executive produced by Jimmy Roberts and Adrian Gallagher. It's produced by Alex Resnick and edited by Sarah Chovnik. The show is a production of Big Swing Media. Fred Buescher, CEO. Jimmy Roberts, COO. Special thanks to Gil Capps, Jackson Roberts, Jack Joyner, and Frankie Brescia.